Hey guys, okay, so
Aquaman.
yes, Aquaman, the last arc that we have. We only have issues 3 and 4 right now.
So,
I know you want to talk about it, so
what is the plot of Aquaman? Aquaman's this guy, and he's a superhero, and he grew up on land, and he's got a wife who's really cool like him.
Mm-hmm.
And no one takes him seriously, but then monsters start attacking everyone from bottom of the ocean, so they fight the monsters, and that's pretty much the series. Seems very straightforward. I mean, I think that's almost very simple element. I think that could be like the entire Aquaman first arc is like every single issue of
Superman. Yeah.
Then again, it takes as long to read each single issue of Superman
as it does to complete the arc of
to
Aquaman.
read each Aquaman arc. So I'm not to end that whether that's good or bad is a bit. I have
for you
mixed
to
feelings.
decide.
But I think it's a very simple, very straightforward story.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have. It's also another kind of thing that doesn't have very many twists and turns to it, but also kind of like a one-note story. But I think it definitely takes its time in terms of pacing. Not that it's slow, but that it's
different things happen.
That different things happen, but it's not constantly trying to get to the next thing, not constantly trying to. It doesn't feel rushed. I mean, there will be long, extended fight sequences. I mean, the third issue is essentially mostly
one
fight scene. And it's something that doesn't slow down the pace at all. It just, I think, actually helps it in some ways. Because really what this is it's a new debut for Aquaman.
Yeah.
It's really showing everything that Aquaman can be. It is a series that's in love with Aquaman. Then again, if one series is going to be in love with Aquaman, I think Aquaman is probably the most appropriate title.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also not the kind of thing that, although it shows him being very heroic and it shows him being very...
it's more about him being a husband or something.
Yeah, and very superhero-like. I think it's also about him being a husband. It's definitely also hints at it or touches on his relationship with Atlantis.
Yeah.
Because that's something that's constantly...
and with humans on land.
With humans.
Land humans.
That's it. He's
land
kind
people.
of... It's odd because I think that characters like Martian Manhunter, I really like him because I think he, more than Superman, more than any other character, is someone who you could write a story about him being pretty much away from his people and how he deals with that, living in a very alien world. Aquaman, both Atlantis and humans, well, human world, are somewhat alien to him, and both kind of don't really want him. But he can also in some ways call both of them his home. Yeah. So that's a theme that is pervasive, but it's not dominant. I think that while with something like Batgirl, the whole character struggle is the main focus of the series, I think in Aquaman that really takes a backseat to fighting giant sea monsters.
But I think that where someone like Superman is a world superhero, or maybe just an American superhero, Aquaman is kind of a neighborhood superhero.
It's odd. I feel that way about the Flash. I think Aquaman is kind of different because he can, I think, be a neighborhood superhero. I think that if you call
him in
Aquaman,
the first 4 issues, it takes place like pretty much within within one dock, and then in the ocean, and then at at Aquaman's lighthouse, which is his home.
But at the same time, within this, he travels all the way to the Pacific Rim in order to do some fighting. So that's the other thing, that he can, I think, work on both levels, kind of as a global superhero in the sense of the ocean is pretty damn big.
But also very personal.
Yeah, I think that I think that the series just creates an Aquaman who you could imagine living in your neighborhood. Yeah. Who you could imagine...
Your friendly neighborhood Aquaman.
Kind of. So yeah, things that you liked about it.
I liked how, in the beginning, and well, actually, even on issue 4, not everyone takes Aquaman seriously. I liked it in the first issue. I liked it in the second issue. I like it now. Because Aquaman has kind of had this thing where he is kind of a silly person. Yeah, well, a silly character.
He has kind of a Super Friends type reputation.
Yeah. But I also like how they juxtapose that with him doing all sorts of badass fight things.
Yeah, definitely.
And, like, just showing how serious he can be, and how competent. And, like, throughout the comic, even on issue 4, a lot of people, I still don't like him. But you'll see, as you read the comic, that he's a great hero. He's protecting people. He's competent. He is powerful. But he still talks to just privates and like cops. Like he's not talking to generals like Superman. He's talking to just cops who happen to be at the scene and stuff. Where
It's very personable,
yeah,
and I think that really shows in. He seems like. Also, I think this is something that he has in common with the Flash. He seems like a genuinely good person,
hmm
but at the same time, while I think Flash seems like also kind of a very ordinary person, Aquaman does have something special about him.
he
I
is a
mean,
king.
yes, and there is something very regal to
hmm
him that he just emanates in the drawings of him, and also that he will pull off these incredible feats. And I think there is a pretty incredible feat at the end of this book.
hmm
But I think the main thing that I love about this is Aquaman's beautiful, beautiful aqua ass. Yes, look at that. Look at him. And although there aren't, I'm not going to say a gratuitous amount of ass shots. They're certainly
I want
not
to say
sparing
Aquaman
any.
is kind of like Flanders.
The terrible thing, the absolutely terrible thing, is that you're right.
Yeah.
You are right on almost like on every level. Aquaman is Flanders.
Yep.
Even right down to the wow.
And that he's this super nice guy who can do all sorts of really cool things, but he's also a good neighbor.
Yes,
hmm
and also he's well. I don't think I have to show anymore. That's all right. But and also again, I think there's another series that I think it's drawn especially well because it's drawn in a way that reflects
The character.
the character, and it creates a feel
hmm
for the series that definitely works. Is there anything else that I could say about Aquaman?
I want to say something, just a little thing.
Little thing.
In the first three issues, the villains are kind of built up to be this really huge menace and threat.
I would say.
I mean, we only see them attack one dock, but at the same time, they're like they just seem very menacing. But at the end of issue 4,
Without giving away any.
they're kind of taken out a bit.
So you think it? Would you say you think it's anticlimactic?
Um, like the way he does it is pretty cool, but I'm just saying that um, it seemed like it could have been maybe a 6-issue thing, like a 6-issue arc. Like it could have been a much bigger threat. And once we find out just how
Well,
everything is turning out, it gets resolved pretty easily.
yeah, it's odd because I think this. I don't actually mind that so much because I think it also. I think it's really all that we need at this point.
Yeah,
I think
as
that
an intro arc.
I think that for Aquaman, the threat is sufficient, and I don't think it's.
Uh-huh.
I'm not underwhelmed. I think that the pacing and what we end up getting in the climax has a payoff on the same scale as the setup. I mean, I think that if you had a bigger setup, you would have gotten to a bigger payoff, definitely. But
I guess the
also,
setup felt bigger.
yeah, but I also think that we didn't necessarily really need. I mean, also the thing is that these monsters that he's fighting really don't even appear until the second issue.
Uh-huh.
So it's something that's probably will probably be seen as trivial in the long run. But
I think it's kind of like Jaws, and I know you don't like that movie, but it'd be like if you see the first half of Jaws, right, where you have all like just Jaws making all sorts of mess and eating people, and then you just cut to the end where he's, well, he's not really like you just cut.
don't give away the ending to Jaws.
Well, you just well, like you see like the first half of Jaws, he's causing all sorts of ruckus, and then you just see like a dead shark. And I guess that's what it kind of is.
See, I definitely don't think that's. I really definitely don't get that sense. I think that because that would be saying that you take out the part where they actually go and hunt down the shark and kill it.
But that's all
But I
done
think that
in half an issue
I think that
or
that's
so.
really that's all done in to say that only around I would say more 2/3 of an issue. To say that 2/3, maybe even a little more, of the last issue is one big fight scene.
Well, it's
When
not.
you have it is a fight scene, and also that following a half issue long fight scene in the previous thing,
hmm
previous issue, I think that it's sufficient.
Um, I think for an introduction arc, but I think just the way they set it up, because you have this fight at the one dock, and that's pretty much issue 3. And then we're given to think. I think, well, at least I got from it that that it's a much bigger threat than just what happened at that one dock. Then they go to the source, and at the source,
Don't
there's
say what
a
happens.
thing that happens. And I just think what happens at the source in issue 4 could have gotten. It was big, but it could have been more. I guess had more weight to it.
You know, I think without giving anything away, I think that if it were that, let's say Aquaman were perhaps doing something that ends up saving the world from
I think
if he were saving the world from imminent disaster, I think that would be a different story. I don't think that's what this story is.
I'm just saying he should have called a shark or something.
Right? I really don't think that's what this story has
I think
to be.
it was missing a shark or two.
Missing a shark. What I like about
the shark quota was not met.
What I actually like about it is that it's Aquaman. The way that it works is it's Aquaman. He's the main things that he does. He doesn't really do anything too fancy at the end, so maybe that's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's brave and he's smart, and that is how.
He treats his wife really well.
His wife is pretty much his partner.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like
they have a good dynamic.
He treats his wife much better than, let's say, Batman treats Robin.
Or Batman treats Alfred, for that matter.
I think Batman tends to treat Alfred very well in the main continuity.
Yeah.
But,
well, you haven't read some of the books.
I may object to something else when we get there. But overall, I think that as something that shows off those qualities effectively, qualities, it's effective. I think that if we were trying to show Aquaman being someone who can save the world on a gigantic scale
with his army of
sharkness, which that is one of my favorite comic panels of all time. Aquaman's army of sharkness in New Frontier. Oh man. Anyway, I just don't think that's what this opening is about, and I don't think that's really what it needs to be about. So for me,
I still really like it. Even though I think it could have been a bit bigger, I still really like what they did. I like the character. I do like the plot. I do like the arc. I do like the main conflict and resolution of it.
I certainly agree.
But I don't want to say I'm disappointed. Just I felt like it could have been just maybe a page or two more of actual, I don't know, something.
I mean, I certainly agree. It could have been a much bigger story. I just don't think it had to be. And I don't necessarily think that at this point in the Aquaman story, or in the Aquaman series, and what they're really establishing, it really had to be. So I am very happy with Aquaman. Of all the series that have completed so far, I would.
Yeah, of all the first arcs, this is my favorite one.
But at the same time, this could very easily change as we go on, because again, also we're later going to be getting onto stories that are developing.
Also, one more thing. I've been complaining about the main conflict. I wouldn't say that that's even my favorite part.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, the best parts of this issue are Aquaman not fighting, before or after the fight scenes.
Yeah, I think.
And you see Aquaman relating to like I said, the single policeman or something.
I think
those are or like a child. I don't want to spoil issue 4, but at the end of issue 4, there's some sweet things that happen, like some cute, really cool things.
I agree. I think that Aquaman is also kind of a character-centric series, not in the sense that the character's internal conflicts drive the plot,
not like Batgirl,
but in the sense that the character is probably the most appealing thing about it. Like, I mean, I'm not something like Detective Comics. I will read for the mystery, and I will read for the suspense of what's going to happen from issue to issue. With Aquaman, I'm reading it for Aquaman, definitely, and I think that's probably its strongest trait. So I think that is it for initial arcs that have kind of resolved so far. We might have a bit more time to talk about, but I think perhaps we should not do that right now.
So, that's all the completed arcs so far.
I think so. I hope so. There are a few series that we haven't really been picking up anymore. So if those tend to resolve, we might not actually talk about them because it's odd. We end up, I think, getting to the point of
narrowing down.
We get to the point of refining things a bit because as time goes on, we may, after, let's say, 4 issues, or after the first 2 issues, or in a few cases, exceptionally bad cases, after the first issue, not continue reading certain series. So over time, the series that we talk about are more and more the ones that we like. Then again, I think that's good, because I think it's easier
to talk about things we like.
Or you have more interesting things to say about things you like than things you don't like. I think there's kind of a trend that it's fun to make fun of things you don't like, and that's true sometimes, but I would also say it's probably less interesting.
Hmm.
And did you have anything else you wanted to say before?
Um,
Because I also just wanted to say we did have a few of you inquiring about where we've been. We've just been,
we've been busy.
well, not that so much that we've been busy, but I think we wanted to wait until we had something concrete
Yeah,
to really
but
talk
also
about.
we've been busy.
Well, busy reading all these comics.
And college.
Yeah,
Yeah.
college is whatever. But now it's January.
Yeah. Now we have a month off.
Anyway, and also I think that in terms of things to look forward to,
Hmm.
I would definitely also like to get to a few published series, trade paperbacks that we
Yeah.
never actually managed to talk about. What I would like to do is New Frontier.
Okay.
So I'd like to do one of those, and there are other things.
Yeah.
And ultimately, if there's anything that you folks are interested in, by all means, let us know. And if you want us to shut up and stop doing videos, by all means, tell us that too. It's not actually going to influence our decision, that second one, but you might as well share your thoughts.
I mean, I'm sure they do it anyway.
Yeah. And now I think the most important part, the part where we miss you a Merry Christmas because we missed you this Christmas,
Yeah.
and wish you a very interesting New Year.
Yeah. I agree. I concur. Bye now.